Defund the police. I hear a lot of talk about this. You know, you have police shootings and people call out defund the police. And I totally get why they're saying defund the police. I've been very concerned about what's happening with the police. I pay attention to U.S. news. Okay, I live in Canada, Montreal, Canada, but I pay attention to U.S. news. I don't like to watch news in Canada because I live here and I want to be able to sleep at night. So I don't want to know how bad things are. I watch American news. It's a quasi reality TV, except it's a little too real. It affects.
You turn it off like a dream. Like, oh God, that was a weird ass dream. Like, oof,
the thing is, it still does affect us. It's not like some other. It's not like I'm watching the economy.
Dreams still affect me, but at least it's like once removed.
No, but it affects our economy. It affects our bottom line. So, but I do watch what's going on there, and I've been seeing over the past years, including when Obama was president, and even before that, the militarization of the police. I mean, they're driving around in what look like tanks and full body gear. Like, what the hell is going on? I get that they're responding. I'm guessing they're responding to. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe in part they're responding to the escalation that they're seeing in the streets. Maybe criminals are getting more weapons. I don't know, but you know, if they get bow and arrow, then you get bow and arrow, and then they get a gun, and then you get a gun, and they get a cannon, and you get a cannon. Like escalate. Like I don't go. Oh, we're gonna militarize the police, and then we're just gonna totally outgun them. Well, then they'll get viruses and start programming them in their friggin' labs, and your bulletproof vest is not going to do anything. Anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about. Defunding the police. So I totally get it because I was watching the police getting militarized and I was like, okay, all these budgets and all this stuff going there. I go, why do they have to look like that? Like, what is police turning into that they?
Well, they're doing that because they need to sell the military industrial complex wants to sell these equipment and stuff to these people. Plus, the more people you have in prison, the more you satisfy the prison industrial complex.
So there is that. So I totally get the sentiment, okay? And a lot of the criticism I have about what's going on in politics and in the social world right now is not really about the what people want, like the object of their desire, like the goal that they have. It's just the how to get there. I'm not sure that people are clear-minded, thinking enough about the best way to get there. You know, maybe defunding the police is a way to get there, right? If we defund the police, then they won't be able to militarize and they won't blah. But then you're going to have some other consequences, right? One of the consequences that have occurred with the police not being able to police areas like they did before, you know, in Minneapolis and things like that, is that crime is skyrocketed, murder is skyrocketed, like up like 33%, you know. So yeah, you might be able to defund the police, and now police are no longer killing people or brutalizing people, but then other people are going to brutalize people. So you know, there is a trade-off there. I talked about in our last stream about upstreaming. And it's about going far enough upstream to find the true source of the problem and start dealing with the problem at its source so that you're more effective, more efficient, and requires less action. So instead of defunding the police, I would rather fund Black people. Like, I'm going to fund Black wealth. Like, how do we do that? $90 million Black Lives Matter raises, and the one of the ladies who's the founder and in charge of it is now buying homes and moving into white neighborhoods, buying $1 million homes. I don't begrudge her that. There should be 100 Black people doing that now, not just her. Right. Start moving Black people into those white neighborhoods, start taking them, giving them capital, making them millionaires, giving them money so they can go and live in these other areas and start changing the dynamics of things. Start funding Black communities, start funding Black enterprises. My idea, Black Money Matters, is all about that.
Go ahead.
No, you didn't talk enough, so go ahead.
I just find it so fascinating that it started now, but the idea that the money is the problem, not just like who has it, but what it is and how it grows and the power that it actually gives to you. People conflate that rich people with the problems in their life. Occupy Wall Street had this issue. The issue isn't isn't that there are rich people. It's that you just need to be able to have the money flow around better, not take it from here and pile it up over there. It's this flow of money and
upward mobility, right? It's like being able to, it's not that there are rich, middle class and poor. Is that if you're poor, you should be able to find your way to the upper classes.
Well, I mean, even more upstream than that. Like, so people who come from wealthier families, it's part of their education, part of what they see in their daily life and what they're expected to do, to how to manage money, how do you turn a little bit of money into more money, how do you explore opportunities, and how do you weigh risk and rewards. we grew up, that was not at all part of the conversation. I mean, they don't tell you how to do your taxes, much less how to balance a checkbook or anything like that, or that your money can turn into more things. And so you're constantly in this thing of, well, let me just make it to my next paycheck, or there's no point in me trying to get ahead because I'll never have enough money to do it, without understanding that there's mechanisms for how to turn a little bit of money into more money. Now, going from 0 to 1, that's near impossible, but there are plenty of Black people who, if they understood, oh, wait a second, if we just took a generation and spent money amongst Black people and encourage entrepreneurship and innovation, we'd be able to create value amongst our own community. And then they would have, sort of like this Jewish mentality of, let's help our own. We're being persecuted. Let's help our own. Let's develop a sense of culture that lasts more than our generation and pull each other out of poverty, right? So you could have one family member generation that came out of the Holocaust, and the next one starts a clothing factory, and the third levels are doctors and lawyers, because you have this sort of mentality. But within the Black community, that's not there. The idea of fighting the man, and that there's no point in trying, is very prevalent. And I wish there was more. I mean, wish. What we're trying to do, you and I, is trying to bring this awareness that if we can just show some Black people that money matters, understanding money matters, and money's not evil. You gotta know how to use this, and if you do that, you can help bring other people out of poverty. That's what the rich people have above the poor people, the understanding of how money works.
I remember listening to an interview with Kevin Hart, a conversation with Kevin Hart and Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience. And Kevin Hart was talking about this, like how Black people don't understand money, and they don't understand wealth management. They don't understand appreciation, and he didn't even understand it until he had some money in order to deal with it. And so providing that education is very important. I think part of the problem is that, you get the baton from the previous generation, and the mantras, the points of focus, all that stuff comes from the past. And to some degree, that tradition being passed on is super important, to remember your history, to learn from it. At the same time, we're getting this clash of this newness, these novelties, this new technology, new ways of being, that if you have a traditional mindset, you might not realize how this new thing can help you, because it seems so different than the last thing, like fighting the man and getting regulations passed and dealing with the police and dealing with government. That's the old way of doing things, because that's the way you had to get stuff done. You had to lobby your senators and your Congress people. You had to get things done through government. Folks, those days are long gone, okay? Government is where things go to die or things go to get corrupted. That's not at all where we need to put our focus. It used to be, and that's why when you look at the Martin Luther Kings and the Civil Rights Act and all that stuff, you're like, oh my God, it created such great change. We need more of that. Yeah, absolutely. But the systems that they use in order to do that, I mean, people at least listened to each other back then. Black Panther and KKK would be working together for commonality, right, to fight some other injustice. They understood how to play politics. They understood how to come together even with your enemy in order to get stuff done. We are done with that, right? There's no way. Like, if you are slightly disagreeing with the mainstream on something, there's no coming. You're going to be called a white supremacist. You're going to be called you've integrated your racism or whatever. You're too privileged or whatever it is. Like, there is no more common ground. There's no more work together. There's a Cold War that's happening right now in our world. And if we try to use the old way in order to get stuff done, it's not going to be as effective as this new way. Right now, folks, there is a transition from the old system to the new system. Just like we moved from paper and just like we moved from cars to horses and from paper to computers, now we're moving into the crypto space. And I know we talk about it a lot. It's just, God damn it, if you don't get into the crypto space, you're never going to understand what we're talking about, and you're going to be woefully unprepared for what's coming next. In a crypto space, and when it comes to digitization, when it comes to computers and network effects and social media, we are, instead of having to create a committee and a government thing that will then do an analysis and figure out reports, we don't need any of that stuff anymore. We can directly relate to each other. We can directly network, and we can directly experiment and expend money and expend funds. I remember hearing about Bill Gates, and I read this new article a few years ago. Bill Gates created an energy fund, a renewable energy fund. It's $1 billion in order to invest in researching renewable energy. And he got all of his millionaire and billionaire buddies together, and they put their cash together and got $1 billion fund. And I was like, okay, that's great. But hang on a second. We already have $1 billion fund. It's just in our pockets, right? It's just in our individual pockets. And if Bill Gates can go to the few friends he has, the millionaires and billionaires, and get this money together, well, there's enough of us to accumulate the $5, $10, $50 that we have in our pockets in order to create the funds together. And we can start funding projects. We can start funding the things that we want to do. And if we don't get out of the mindset of the old way, defund the police, and start getting to the mindset, what can we fund? Let's fund Black people. Let's fund Black entrepreneurship. Let's fund whatever. And it don't have to be Black. It can be anything that you want, like anything that you care about, whether it's the climate, whether it's Black criminal justice reform, whether it's education for the kids, whatever it is. All kinds of things that we can do by using the new tools that we have available to us today. This old way of thinking, this old mindset is useful in order to understand the context of where we came from and the traditions that helped us get to where we are now. But don't use that as an excuse to ignore the power that we have today. And don't let the rich people who are already late to the party, they're already still not understanding it. Don't let them get ahead into this new world before you do, right? Get into the crypto space, get into the social media space where you learn how to use social media for good, how to work together as people, and not stop depending on legacy systems in order to solve our problems. Defund the police, I get the sentiment, but there's a better way forward.
One way to think about this is that the freedom that we take for granted, that has been evolving and accruing on average throughout the history of humanity, is directly proportional to technological advancement. Right. So when we started off with fire and weapons and language, these are types of technologies. It allowed us to free from the bonds of not having enough food, or being at the mercies and whims of other animals or weather. As we congregate together and we learn how to make stronger walls and better roads, and we learn how to store information over time through memorization. We learn how to carve stuff into stone and rock and wood and all these sort of things. We then are able to store information to pass from generation to generation, right? You imagine, I think Joe Rogan was talking about this, a dog who learns, oh, wait, this is a better way for me to do something. They could only pass on something to the next generation through their genes. But we're able to pass it along in an actual concrete form, so that the next generation doesn't have to learn that again. This is a way we've been.
Dawkins, I think it's Dawkins who came up with the principle.
Well, that's for memes, but literally, like by making something out of stone, by writing something down, by passing this information on through language, to have this songs and stories passed down. These are all we use creativity in order to store information and productivity and pass it on to the next generation. And that has unlocked more of our time and our mind, and has allowed us to express freedom more and more. Now, the thing is, it allows for those who want to oppress, those who want power, to also gain a foothold, because that's what happens. When you have the technological development, people realize it could be used for either for good or for bad. And so often, the psychopath, the sociopath, and those who want to get more without any work, they can use it in order to con people or coerce them, or don't want to hurt them in order to get their way. But that same technology can be used by other people in order to generate more freedom, more accessibility to information. And so now we take it for granted having access to the internet and being able to pull up information at any given time. Just like people took it for granted to be able to turn on the TV and see what's going on the nightly news, or turn on the radio and being able to see that. Just like people took it for granted before that to go to a library and access information from different platforms. But what's going on is that the freedom that we're able to exercise, it's still in it's our responsibility to do that. The freedom that we can exercise is proportional to the technological development. And we're now seeing a convergence like we've never seen before between where technological development has now crossed into money, right? We had before, up until
not that it didn't make money, but that now actual currency, like actual money, is that what you mean? Because money was always involved with technology.
Separate the idea of currency and money. When you're talking about money, think of something like an asset, something that is actually valuable. Your house, a chair, a computer, a car. These are things that are valuable in and of themselves and have the byproduct of being able to be a store of value so that you can exchange it later on. So, if you buy a car now, you might be able to sell the car later. The currency is just a representation of this asset, right? And so we've often used as humans a commodity. It could be feathers, it could be stones, it could be gold, it could be something, to as the easiest form for us to carry and exchange with other people. But that it's a bearer asset. People have that, and they can. Someone steals your gold, they have your gold. And so we started using IOUs that were tied to certain banks. You could have things checks that were tied to your own specific name, and we've come up with all these creative ways. But using the print and press, using minting, using technology in order to try to turn money into a currency that was useful to us. But then we got to the point where it was digital, right? We had more of us spend our money from our debit cards and credit cards than we ever actually physically spend a thing. And that was able to unlock creativity and productivity, because you were able to lend out more money than existed. Then there was gold on the ground, and you were able to borrow ahead of time instead of having to wait 5 years for you to earn that savings in order to start that company. You were able to unlock more creativity. Well, now we're getting to the point where that we never had a network effect with that. We never had this exponential growth when it came to that. Now, though, we have a technology that finally it dipped into the monetary network, dipped into the fiscal network, and now it allows for that value to flow freely and accurately on the digital space. And so people, it was a real shocker to me when I thought about this the other day. People say gold is better than Bitcoin because gold has been around for 5,000 years, right? It's proven itself. Yeah, but that's proportional to the technology of the time, right? Before that, gold wasn't a thing. Before we could mine, before we could smelt the gold properly and make it pure enough and store it in a secure way and transport it as we needed to, we weren't using that. We were using other things that were easier to use. And so now technological development is exponential, and it makes sense now that the things that it touches becomes exponential as well. So when information went from stories to libraries to internet, well, it made sense. There was an explosion of this information on the internet. There's an explosion where people were able to access things and use that information for different things. It made total sense. When the internet touched into media, it made sense. There was more shows and more movies and more videos being created than ever before. And now that we're having technology touch that exponential force touch money, we're having an explosion in the power of money and the access of value of money on the internet. So it makes total sense now that we would be moving from something like gold into something like a digital version of this money. It makes total sense. And it's fascinating because I was firmly into the gold camp, firmly into it, right? And I don't mind saying it now that if you have some gold at home,
yeah,
and you think to yourself, now I'm safe. Now I have something that I could use if things go badly. And then you spend your nights going, shoot, I have a bunch of gold at home. I can't. I don't feel safe at all. I feel less safe than I ever did before. I feel as not safe as the guy who used to walk around with gold coins in their pouch, and some some Aladdin can come around and just take your money. Like, I don't feel safe at all. But my Bitcoin, I feel pretty good about that. Pretty good about that.
If you care about what's happening with defund the police and what's happening with the black people, the way I feel about it is like we are entering. People want to use the government for wealth redistribution, socialism, right? Eat the rich. That's what I hear. Eat the rich. People want to take from the rich and give to the poor. I totally get that. I understand the sentiment of that. I don't agree with it. I don't think we should do it that way. Yes, I believe a lot of the rich people are corrupt or criminals, and they found some way to game the system in order to get what they want.
Wait, not a lot of the rich people. A portion of the rich people. How can you say a lot?
If you're the child of a criminal or the progeny of it, you're kind of in that bank. Okay?
No,
if your dad robbed the bank and you benefit from it, I'm sorry.
What do you
So
mean?
how many
We
people?
live in a country that was stolen from
Yeah,
the natives over here.
yeah,
Is that
I agree. I agree. I'm
oh
not saying that we should use government to redistribute wealth. I'm not saying we should, but I totally understand the sentiment. I mean, I get the sentiment.
I
You're
get
the
the sentiment.
child,
Yes,
like
but
there
I
are.
wouldn't say that most rich people are crooked.
No, I don't think most rich people are crooked, but I'm talking about. I'm not talking about million. I'm talking about the upper echelons that use government and regulations and lobbying in order to get what they want.
Okay, so powerful people.
Yeah, if you're using government in order, well, powerful people turn out to be rich people as well. Like they're super wealthy. They're using government, the gun of government, the strong arm of government, in order to get what they want. I have Alex here who's making fun of us here. He said, where's that comment? I thought the comment was pretty funny. Get a load. Get a load of this libertarian over here. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a part of any club. Yeah, I totally get it. Like if you are part of a company or organization that's using government in order to stymie everybody else and move your head forward, you're a criminal in my book.
Yes, but
Like
that doesn't mean that's not the rich people. That's the powerful people who happen to be rich sometimes.
that
Fine. Continue with your point.
those
Continue
people.
with your point.
Those people.
Continue with your point.
So people want to use government for wealth redistribution. They want to use government in order the strong arm of government because the government uses their power, the power of a gun, right? Why do you listen to the government? Because they'll shoot you or put you in jail. Okay, it's the power of force. And they want to use that in order to redistribute this wealth, which I think is just terrible. You're going to use the criminals and crooks who are in government in order to give them the power in order to take the money and dish it out to whoever they want. Yeah, that's going to go great. It's going to go wonderful. Oh, yeah, that's really great. That's what I want. I want some government official. I want some congressman, senator, all of those people to like listen to the people, and then they're going to decide who gets to have the money. We're going to tax this person. And, it's just totally ridiculous. I just don't even understand why people are on board with that. But I am totally on board with wealth redistribution. It's just got to be voluntary. And the only way that I could see that's going to happen as fast as we need now is with crypto, because that funny money, monopoly money that people are using right now, eventually it's going to be it's not going to be great. Okay, and the crypto assets, that's going to be what you're going to be using at least as collateral for whatever this you want to do. So there is right now.
If you were born before 1971. The idea that the currency that we have right now, that was money, would be like, absolutely not. It's totally, who would ever believe this is money? Just because they wrote it on it, no one would ever believe that. And just the generation afterwards, totally forgot. And now people act like, no, this paper money, obviously this is what money is. This is what it's always been. It's freaking been that way like almost no time at all. Almost no time at all.
Xander says this video is great.
Way to go, Xander.
Thank you for watching, Xander. Oh my goodness. I totally get it. And it's funny how these things shift and these mindsets shift. But I want to just call people's attention to the idea that there is a wealth redistribution happening right now. It's happening right now.
It's the largest redistribution of wealth we've ever seen in the history of anything. The most number of people and the most amount of wealth. And it's happening underneath the wealthy's nose. They don't even realize what's going on.
They think it's ridiculous. They poo-poo it. You should hear the comments that you hear about it online and the interviews that you see. They think it's a total joke. Folks, this is our chance. Instead of telling black people, hey, we should defund the police, which is going to hurt black people, okay? Like, I get it. There's a harm that comes when the wolves are attacking you. But if there are no wolves, and now you have an overpopulation of deer, you're going to get trouble with that as well, okay? There's going to be some type of problem. You get your hand on some crypto assets, and that starts appreciating and the transformation occurs, you're going to see the power shift hands, because where the money flows,
that's is a type of defunding, right? Because what's going on is that the police are funded not in crypto; they're funded in fiat currency, and the fiat currency is going down in value. Like I find it really interesting. People will be like, the government's spending trillions of dollars now. Trillions of dollars. Oh my God, now they're really going to ruin the system. And 10 years ago, they're spending billions of dollars. Oh my God, that's going to ruin the system. And before that, they're spending millions of dollars. Oh, that's going to ruin the system. It's like there's no end. What they don't realize is that the value of their money keeps going down as the number of how many you need to buy the same thing goes up. You can't buy a milkshake with a nickel anymore. I keep saying that. But you can, a fraction of a Bitcoin freaking goes a long way today, man. A huge long way. It's increasing in value. And
That's
so
right. One Bitcoin used to be worth $10, and now one Bitcoin is worth $60,000.
So if your wealth, or the community wealth, let's say, of the disenfranchised is increasing in purchasing power, and in terms of the dollar, if it's increasing purchasing power, and the police are staying at their funding, then you are defunding the police. The police are being defunded by their own habit. It's just that you need to have you need the other side of the community increasing the value. If the community stays with the same dollars, that's where the police have the same money. But you outpace it.
The legacy systems are being defunded. The politicians are being defunded. They don't know it yet. The bank account still says millions of dollars. You don't know it yet, but like that, it can go, because that's just funny money that's in a bank account. Just ones and zeros in a bank account. Just numbers in a bank account. True value is shifting over right now. And I tell you, the smart rich people, the smart, powerful people, because there are some, they got crypto.
That's right.
You might not be talking about it, and don't believe it. It's some person like, oh, I don't, this thing's a joke. They got crypto, okay? You better believe that they're going to have crypto.
Well, just this fact alone.
Yeah.
So crypto is mined by miners. New Bitcoin is being created by miners. But all the Bitcoin, when you go out and buy a Bitcoin right now, you're not getting any crypto. You're not buying any, it's not crypto. You're not getting any Bitcoin from the miners. All the Bitcoins that the miners are minting are going to the large holding companies now, or the miners hold it themselves. You're only buying Bitcoin from someone else who's trading it short term, who has a short term point of view, and they're giving it to you. And so the rich people, because it's not a huge market, the rich people who do understand this are gathering up. They're like, holy crap! And they're gathering up as many of these Bitcoin as possible. And that's what's one of the impetus for causing this the price of Bitcoin to go up. It's maintaining its value, and also a minority of rich people have realized, holy crap.
Just like you hear these stories about how Native Americans or First Nations, or I don't know what they're called anymore, the people before the people, I don't know. They trade like the island of Manhattan for like 5 juju beans or something. You're like, that's what's happening right now, okay? Exactly that's what's happening right now. Exactly. Okay, this crypto thing, everything, it's totally worthless. It's not worthless. It's the island of Manhattan, and you're like, oh, I don't really know. It's just trees and land on the property. Who knows that? I'm telling you that value of that land is worth way more than the pelts or whatever it is that you're trading for it. You can tune into Jumpstart. We're going to be doing this as often as we can. Right now, it'll be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Don't hold us to it, but we're going to do it as often as we can. We're going to be talking about things that are happening currently in the news and things that are timely, but we're also going to give you this education. We want to give you an education. Look, we wanted to do this whole webinar thing and create a course load. We're like, look, we're just going to do the new thing, okay? We're not going to use the old way of school to teach you. We're going to give you the new thing. You take what you want to take. You leave what you want to leave. You can watch us when you want to watch us, or watch us live, participate with what we're doing, ask your questions, and learn as we have these conversations. That's the point of Jumpstart. Jumpstart is a jumpstart for your life.